and speak. Our first inductee will be Bob Albrightson Coach. Bob started teaching and coaching at Whitefish Bay High School in 1967. For the next 27 years, Bob worked at the high school as both a guidance counselor and a teacher of business and social studies. He coached freshman football for 9 years and was the varsity head coach for 14 years. He was named District 7 Coach of the Year in 1978 by the Wisconsin High School Football Coaches Association. Bob's 1972 team was co-champion of the Milwaukee Suburban Conference, and his teams also finished second 3 times. Bob was inducted into the Wisconsin Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2006. In addition, while at Bay, Bob coached freshman and JV basketball for 4 years and was an assistant baseball coach for 20 years. Bob authored numerous newspaper and professional articles on topics related to high school sports, competition, and coaching. He was a sports essayist and commentator for WHA Public Radio and a frequent guest on local and national talk radio and television shows. He often spoke before school, church, professional, and civic groups at conferences, clinics, and conventions. After retiring from counseling and teaching at Whitefish Bay in 1994, Bob taught coaching classes at Marquette University, where in 2011 he was given the Outstanding Lecturer Award. It's my honor to present Bob Albrightson.
Well, I want to congratulate my fellow Hall of Fame members here. And I also want to thank John Gustafson for planning this occasion. It takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication to put this thing together, and he's done it very well for the last 2 years. So I think, John, you need a round of applause for that. Every time I come back to school here, I feel a connectedness. I also feel a connectedness with this group of people that I'm being inducted with. Lois Wolf and Morgan Byers were teaching and coaching colleagues of mine for a long time. John Stone's daughter, Tiffany. Tiffany here? Hi, Tiff. This one was one of my students. I coached Buzz Wilson's son, John, in 2 sports, both baseball and football. And Sue Kopswinky and Todd were students here. And I also coached Sue's brother, Chris, in football. So I have a connection with these. And when I look outside and I see the plaques that are out there for the previous class, I look at my connectedness there. I see Bob Bradley, my longtime friend and golf buddy, and Randy Dean, who along with his brother Rob, probably made coaching more fun and rewarding for me than ever. Mary Manning, who told me last year that I taught her one of life's essential skills. I taught her how to type. And of course, Craig Counsell, whom I really helped get to the major leagues because I retired from baseball coaching before he played here. I don't know Sheldon Lubar, however, after learning about all the philanthropic things that he's done around here, I plan on getting to know him better. And of course, Jack Nagel, who taught me a whole lot about coaching or basketball. One year, when I was Jack's JV coach, he paved the way for me to set a record at this school that's going to remain forever and will never be broken. And the circumstances were that Jack got sick one time. He had the flu, and he called me and said, "Bob, you're going to have to take both teams today. You're going to have to coach the varsity, you're going to have to coach the JVs." And I said, "Fine, I'll do that." And we won the varsity game. So I retired with a record of 1-0 and the only undefeated basketball coach in the history of the school. I've been retired now for 19 years, but I still feel connected with this school when I come back and I see Greg Capper, one of my former students, is our head girls basketball coach, is Kevin Lazovic, who was one of my football players. Jim Teachin was one of my assistant coaches, and they're all still coaching here. And so I feel a connectedness there. I also feel connected with a lot of the former players. When I look at a roster and I see some of the names of the fathers that I coached, and I'm hoping someday I can see their grandkids play as well. When I was hired at Whitefish Bay back in 1967, I had already taught and I coached for about 6 years. I was a football coach, a head coach in baseball and football and in basketball. But when I came here, they said that there weren't any coaching positions available. And I said, that's fine with me. I said, I was grateful to be able to teach in this school. And I've always felt that way. And I know people who know me hear me saying this ad nauseum, but it's the truth. I was here for 35 years, and there was never a time that I wasn't glad I was a part of Whitefish Bay, for all the reasons that John was talking about. And I say that without hesitation or exaggeration. But the summer before I started teaching here, I ran into a friend, and he asked me what I was doing. I said I was going to be teaching at Whitefish Bay High School, and he said, well, they're looking for a baseball coach over there. Would you be interested? And I said, well, I think I would. He said, well, get a hold of this guy named Dick Cooper. Some of you remember Dick, he was the recreation director, because baseball was run by the recreation department at that time. So I came over and I met Dick, and he said to me, would you like to coach here? And I said, I'd love to coach here. So he took me over to Cahill, and I met a guy named Bob Parsons, and the first thing Bob said is, did you hire him? And I said, yeah. He said, yeah. And I said, what are you looking for? And Bob said, well, at this point, we're pretty desperate. We're looking for anybody with a pulse. So I had that, but that night, that very night, I ended up coaching the Blue Dukes. And it was so much fun. I told Bob after that season, I said, you know, as long as you remain the head coach, I said, I'll be your assistant coach. And Bob was 42 at the time. I figured he was going to stay on for a couple of years. I didn't realize he was going to do it for 20 years. And he held me to that. So that's how things kind of went in those days. Then at the end of that baseball season, Bob was also an assistant football coach, introduced me to a guy at the end of the year by the name of Marsh Rebold, who was our head football coach. And he said to me, would you be interested in coaching freshman football? And I said, I'd love to coach freshman football. So that got me involved with football. Then about a year later, our freshman basketball coach left, and Jack Nagle came to me and said, how would you like to coach freshman basketball? And I said, I'd love to coach freshman basketball. So from going with no positions whatsoever, within a year, I was doing that. And so things kind of progressed from there. As far as resumes and interviews and things of that nature, things were a little different in those days as far as getting coaching jobs. And then I went on and became the head coach, and things went on from there. But all the time I was coaching football here, I never really felt that those teams were mine, or that was my program. I always felt like I was like a caretaker. And I had the job for a short period of time because I was in a long line of very successful football coaches here at Whitefish Bay. And I won't bore you with numbers, but I looked this up, and from 1945 to the present day, every head football coach at this high school left the job with a winning record, which is a comment on this community and not so much on the coaching. So I think that is a tribute to all the people who have supported this program. And as John mentioned, after I retired, I had an opportunity to coach down at Marquette. And again, when the dean asked me if I'd be interested in teaching at Marquette, I said, I'd love to do that. So this is the part of the program when all the thank yous come up, and I want to do this thoroughly, quickly. First of all, I want to say thanks to my three sons who are here, Scott, Chris, and Andy. Stand up. I'm literally thanking them because number one, they were my ball boys. They were the managers, my equipment managers, my gophers, and they worked cheap. Room and board. And to my wife, Pat Stanton. more than anyone, Pat was the one that really kept the perspective on all this coaching and sports stuff, and she was a real leveler for me. You know, I'd come home after a game and I'd say we won, and she'd say, well, good. If we lost, she'd say, well, too bad. And usually after that, there came a comment like, and don't forget to fix the screen door tomorrow. Every coach should have a wife who's a leveler. So, in closing, I want to say to all those wonderful colleagues who welcomed me into this faculty, to this very special place, and all the great coaches that I had an opportunity to work with, and for the athletic directors and the administrators that were always so very, very supportive. And to all those young men, it was my honor, and I mean that, my honor to coach. And to all the parents of the players who entrusted me with the most precious people in their lives, I offer you my heartfelt thank you. Thank you.